Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. You've got a story to share, a message to inspire, and a passion ready to ignite. But where do you start? The world is waiting for your voice. With From Idea to Implementation, Start Your Own Podcast, you'll get the roadmap to turn your vision into reality. This isn't just a course, it's your launching pad. Step by step, we'll break down the process from defining your purpose to recording your first episode so you can finally share your voice with confidence. Stop overthinking it and start doing it. Your voice has the power to connect and lead. Are you ready to use it? Join the waitlist today. Your podcast journey starts now. The world is waiting. You can find the link to sign up for the waitlist in the show notes. We'll see you soon. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Gissele Taraba. She is a TedX speaker, a podcaster, author, researcher, entrepreneur, the co-owner of the Maitri Centre, and an advocate and expert in self-compassion and self-kindness. Welcome, Gissele. I am so happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, it is my honor and my pleasure. I know that we've been trying to get this done for a while now, so it's nice to finally have you here so we can share about all the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do, a bit about your story and your journey. Welcome. And with that being said, let us jump right in. I'm curious, what led you to focus on self-compassion and self-kindness, and how has your own journey shaped the work that you do today?
Oh, this is a great question. So I didn't start out being interested in compassion or self-love. To be honest, I thought that my dream was always going to be to work within the child welfare system. Since I was 15, I wanted to work within the system, kind of help heal my own wounds and my parents' wounds. And so when I actually sort of made that dream come true, I saw a system that was really riddled with fear and power over, and there wasn't a lot of love and compassion for the kids, for the families, even for the workers themselves. And I myself started burning out because it felt like you were swimming upstream all of the time. And I was trying to really understand how we could change the system. How do we make it more loving? How could we make it and create it in a way that could have helped people like my grandparents, like my parents, like me? And so it was that quest that led me to compassion. I wasn't trying to change myself. I was trying to improve this system so that I could continue to work within it. And what I discovered was actually something that helped me heal myself. And so not unexpected, but it made me think of that quote from Neil Donald Walsh that says, what you do for others, you do for yourself, and what you do for yourself, you do for others. And so I intended to help heal a system through compassion and ended up healing myself. So
how incredibly powerful and beautiful is that? You go in with the intention to help create healing or repairing or whatever word you want to use, a system that you're actually working in and see every day. And in the process, you heal yourself. That is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I didn't go with that expectation in it. I just found something. As soon as I hit on compassion, it so resonated with me. Something within me said, that's it. That's a piece. And so I was learning more and more about it. I was practicing it. And the more I did that, the more I realized it actually really helped me realize that people create systems, and we can't change systems until we change ourselves. And so I really 100%. Had to look at myself and see how I was contributing to the systems that we have created in today's world.
And so how did that carry forward then in the work? Did you end up making a big difference in the work that you saw that you were trying to change originally?
So to be honest, I actually ended up leaving the child welfare system. The reason being is I had to come to terms with the fact that the system itself was not designed to reinforce loving compassion. And because it is so fear-based, because it is so fear-based, what happens is that you contract. And so that doesn't leave a lot of room for us to get curious, to be compassionate, to try to be understanding. There's a lot of desire to punish and a lot of just contraction. And so I actually was told by someone that I no longer fit within the organization because what I was trying to do didn't seem like it aligned with the way that they wanted to work. And it was very shocking to me, but it made a lot of sense based on how I was wanting to practice and what I was trying to do. I didn't end up doing a master's in social work and ended up doing a thesis on compassion within the child welfare system that has now been read throughout the world. And so I think maybe that way, maybe that's the maximum contribution I can do. Mm-hmm. But my inner guidance has said to me, that's not where I'm supposed to be. That's not my place. And so it really took a long time for me to let go of that identity that I had in terms of like the savior of child welfare, to really open myself up to say, you know what, the universe, source, God has other plans for me. And if I let go of that, there might be something bigger or better or bolder that I'm not embracing. But it took a minute.
Yeah, for sure. That's a hard thing to get your head around. And you think about that, and there are so many systems out there that are created exactly like that. There are solutions, but they don't want them because it doesn't serve their purpose of why the system's there for them. The medical system is another thing. I mean, it's broken here in Canada. You're in Canada as well as me. Yeah. It's broken in the US. I shouldn't use that word broken because I was speaking with a woman about this a while ago. Yeah. And I was saying that the medical system is so broken. The education system is so broken. She said, no, they're not. They're working exactly how they were created to work. And it's, holy shit, you're right. I had to think about it for a second. And because that's the first thing we think of when things aren't working the way we think they should, they're broken, but they're not. They're working exactly how they were created to work. The healthcare system, they want it. The pharmaceutical companies, they want to keep you sick because that makes money. And so this system that you're speaking about, the child welfare system, they saw you as a threat almost, I guess. And no, we don't have any use for what you're trying to do here. This is not in alignment with what we are trying to do. So see you later. And I think that's so sad because really it is about the welfare of the children in your mind, what you were trying to do. But in their mind, that's not what it's about.
Yeah. See, one of the things that I really had to struggle with was understanding how my own fear and my own othering of other people contributed to the systems we have created. And that's tough, right? And because I really had to reflect on, okay, the systems that I see are based on isolation and separation. And when people had hurt me, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted them to be punished. And I wanted them to get as far away from me as they humanly could be. And so, of course, the systems I've aligned with are designed that way. And so I had to say to myself, okay, so I am reinforcing and continuing to work in these systems that reinforce these sorts of values. Are these the values that I want? And I said to myself, no. Because if I was on the receiving end of that as a person who has hurt people, I wanted to be forgiven. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted people to experience compassion towards me when I had made a mistake and fumbled. And yet I wasn't willing to do that for others. And so I really had to look at myself and say, okay, Gissele, you are responsible and have to accept responsibility for the systems you continue to contribute to, including racism. Because racism at its foundation is othering. So I had to reflect, where am I othering others, and thus creating the foundational piece to create racism and to reinforce all these other isms. And that's a hard conversation to have with yourself unless you have compassion. And that's where compassion is so essential, because it allows me to get really curious with myself and curious with others without the need to judge. And that's really important.
Yeah, that is really hard to sit with yourself and sit in your own shit and take a look at yourself. Like, take a really hard, long, deep look at yourself and realize, wait a minute, I'm causing these problems in my life. It's me. I need to change me.
Yeah.
I just went through a whole bout of that in the summer up until the end of the year. It was a hard few months, and sitting with all of the things and looking at myself and realizing, wait a minute, this is all me. I'm the only one causing the problems. I'm the only one that can change it. So snap to it and snap out of it and get your shit done. Wake up and realize that you got work to do.
Yeah.
And that's constant. We're always working on ourselves. It never stops, right? But at least having the self-awareness is key. It's a good thing to have, because so many people go through and they don't even realize that, wait a minute, I'm the problem. So having that self-awareness is a win for sure.
Yeah. People want things to change, but they don't want to change. And I think it's important for me to say that it's not our fault. We wouldn't consciously choose to hurt ourselves or to create systems that are hurtful. It's subconsciously done, but because it's based on fear. The foundation, there's always fear, which is always contraction. And so it isn't our fault, but in the words of Paul Gilbert, it's our responsibility. And there's an element of power there, us taking our power back to change ourselves and therefore really align to live the life of our dreams if we allow ourselves.
For sure. Absolutely. I'm curious, how do you personally define self-compassion and self-kindness? What does that mean to you? What do those two things mean to you? Yeah,
so it's interesting. I sort of have a definition of compassion that's different from what's out there. And my definition really is allowing all things to be without judgment. And I actually want to use sort of something that I called the boat analogy. So supposing you're on a lake, right? And you're rowing your little boat and you're happy, it's a good day, and you see someone drowning. Your boat, you want to help. If you jump into the water, it's something called empathetic distress, which people feel. Sometimes they feel empathy or they feel sorry for. And what happens in the brain is that it actually activates the pain receptors. And so you see someone suffering and you're suffering with them. That's as if you've jumped in the water to try to help them. True compassion is actually staying on the boat and not feeling sorry for people or not allowing yourself to sink. You stay on the boat and you extend a hand out and you say, hey, I can help you come on the boat. And they may choose not to get on your boat. They may choose to still struggle and suffer. And that's okay. That's their choice. But also seeing them as capable human beings who have the capacity to get on your boat, I feel for me is the essence of compassion, is being able to hold that energy of love and seeing them in their highest light, extending a hand. But if they choose not to take it, that's also their journey.
Wow, that is pretty incredible. I love that analogy. Yeah. That's very true. I mean, we all have our own paths and our own journeys to walk. Yeah. And you're right. Maybe that person doesn't really want the help. Maybe they like the suffering, or they're in that place where that's all they know. And so they choose to stay in that suffering.
Yeah.
And you jumping in to try and help, you could drown. And what good is that?
Yeah. It's hard to watch people suffer. It's hard not to do, because naturally we're programmed to do the mirror neurons, right? And so if someone suffers, we suffer. If somebody falls, all of those things, we're supposed to empathize. But then we always stay there. We stay in that suffering with them. And that doesn't help anyone. That only adds more suffering to the circumstance. The whole point is to regulate ourselves enough to hold it and be in that place of love so that then we can be of assistance rather than trying to do it the other way, just in drowning with people.
Amazing. I love it. And so how do you personally practice self-compassion, especially when you are faced with high pressure situations or even self-doubt?
Yeah, I always go back to the breath. For me, that's always the starting point, because there are situations that are considered good and bad in everyone's lives. And for me, compassion starts with the breath, so-called regulating myself enough. Because when you're really stressed out, you have tension in your body and tension in your mind, right? Your mind's going crazy. It's hard to control it. And then you have this body that's tense. Going back to the breath and relaxing the body helps you control the mind. So I manage my body first, help it feel safe, and then I can start to talk to my mind. I can reaffirm it. One of the practices that I actually like to do is it's from Kristen Neff, is the self-compassion moment.
Okay.
So basically what you do is you put your hand on your heart, and then when you're having the difficult moment, you acknowledge the fact that it's a difficult moment. You remind yourself that you're not alone. And then you ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? What do I need? Do I need to feel safe? Do I need nurturance, reassurance? Do I need to feel my voice heard? And once I identify what I need in that moment for myself, I give it to myself. So whether it be giving myself a hug, whether it be remembering to not judge myself, whether it be like some positive affirmation work, whatever I need in that moment, I give to myself. That's what I kind of used as a starting point to really return back to myself in terms of self-compassion. The other thing that I think is really key, that it's underutilized, is self-curiosity. Rather than coming at things from a place of judgment, coming at it from, why am I doing that? Why is that my default setting? Why am I reacting the way I'm reacting? What's happening for me? Like, whose voice is that? And so getting really curious with ourselves, I think, is really fundamental.
But see, with both of those things too, this requires a level of self-trust, trusting your intuition, knowing what your body's telling you, right? These are things that, I mean, we all have that within us. It's intuition. We all have it, but it's a matter of being able to lean into it and trust it. Only then can you rely on that and use these processes. Because if you don't trust your intuition, if you can't lean, none of these processes aren't going to help you in any way, shape, or form. So I think it would really start, first of all, if you're not familiar with it, is learning to trust yourself and learning about your own intuition and inner guidance, right? Because if not, it's useless.
Yeah, this is a great comment. So thank you for making it, because there's so many things to what you said. The first one is, how do you trust when you're like, how do you know when it's your intuition versus a very fear-based thought? And so for me, my intuition is never fear-based. It never tells me anything that is fear. If it's a fear-based thought, I know automatically that's my ego, because my intuition, my higher self, my spirit is never afraid. They're just not. Sometimes the guidance doesn't make sense in my rational mind. That's when I absolutely know that I am listening to my intuition, because it doesn't always make sense, like rationally. And so, what it requires is practice. If you're not used to trusting your higher self, you can never get it wrong. Like, if you make a misstep, you can always come back and return to the self. And so practicing is the one thing. Quieting the mind is the other thing. Really beginning to sort out what's the ego. Ego is always fear-based. Ego is always self-based in terms of comparison or envy, all of those things. None of those things are wrong. They're there to protect us, but they're not the higher self. And so habitually getting to the habit of practicing, even in small little tiny things, will help you learn to trust in the big things.
Yeah, it's very funny and interesting that you say that, because I was just having a conversation last week with someone about trusting our intuition. And I said, what do you do, or what would you recommend for people just starting to learn to? And just silly little things like, should I stay in the left lane or the right lane when I'm driving? Like little very inconsequential things. To start to learn to trust your intuition and to lean into that. So that's another great thing, is start with the things that are of no real consequence, that won't have any major effect on your life if you make a decision like that based on what you perceive as your intuition, if you're not there at that level yet. So just start with something very small and practice. As you said, it's like anything, right? We have to continually practice. If you don't practice, you're not going to get good at it. And then there's the other side of it too, where whenever I talk to people about meditation, I hear a lot of people, I can't quiet my mind. The thoughts, you don't have to rid your mind completely of thoughts. It's almost impossible to do. It's hard. I shouldn't say impossible. It's hard to do, but let the thoughts flow through. It's okay that they're there, but don't pay them so much attention. Don't focus on them. Let them come and go. Anyone can meditate. Again, it takes practice. You have to practice these things.
Yeah. As a person who used to have panic attacks and really bad anxiety, I never thought that I would be able to create space between my thoughts until I actually experienced it. It is the most interesting thing. And when I realized there was some space in between, I was like, oh my God, this is what people are talking about. But it doesn't come right away.
No.
For the first, and the thing is, everybody's time is different. Mm-hmm. It's basically you're planting seeds, right?
Yeah.
And so in the ground, you put them in, you water them, you give them sunshine. For the first little bit, you have no idea which ones are going to germinate, how long it's going to take. For me, it took years. For people, it could take a week. It really is determined by our own inner guidance and our own sense and our own journeys. For me, it took years, but I kept showing up. And sometimes it was hard to do. And when I didn't have it, I didn't have it. And I said, you know what? Then I'll start in the next moment. I'll come back in the next moment. I don't have it right now. And what began to happen, unbeknownst to me, because I just kept doing it, is that there was times when there was space in between my thoughts that allowed me to choose my thoughts more. And so as thoughts came, they always came, very negative thoughts, very like positive and negative, all of these things. And then I had more space to begin to choose and say, yeah, not that. I'm going to choose this one. I'm going to choose that one. And so that helped me do that. But that came with practice. Does it work all the time? No. But I know I go back to my same strategy of, okay, I just have to get very quiet. The other piece that I did not expect and didn't plan for was growing up, I never felt safe. Never ever felt safe in my body or in my house. And not feeling safe is so challenging. And what ended up happening was that over time, I started to find a little place inside myself that felt like a little safe home. And I was like, oh my God, everything I was always constantly looking outside of myself, it's like a little tiny flower that's blossoming. And I'm like, oh my God, that feels so. But when you try to go back there, like you're like, where is that little house and that little tiny thing? It evades you because you're trying, right?
Yes.
But if you just allow it to be, that safe space is within each of us.
For sure. Trust and allow. It's a hard lesson. Mm-hmm, and again, it like everything else, it takes practice. Yeah. Everything. You need to practice at something to get good at it, period. And that's it. What is one belief about self-compassion and self-kindness that you once held but have since unlearned through your work?
Yeah, and the reason why my definition differs from others is because there's such a focus on suffering. There's a big focus on suffering. Oh, compassion is the willingness to see somebody suffering. And I think when I kept hearing it, it didn't really resonate with me, and I didn't really understand why. And the reason being was because for me, there was too much focusing on suffering. And I wanted to put my energy and attention on what I wanted to create instead. And rather than really focusing and putting all my energy on suffering, I wanted to put my energy and attention on actually envisioning people as they would want to be envisioned, which means seeing them as they would want to be seen, successful, happy, joyful, loving, healthy, all of those things. And so rather than focusing on people suffering, the way I practice my compassion is I'm allowing that to be, and yet I can hold the highest vision for my fellow human beings and myself. And if that's what they are choosing to align for, I'm helping, right? Mm-hmm. And this comes from Neville Goddard. Have you ever heard of Neville Goddard?
Yes, I have.
Yes, I love Neville Goddard. And one of the lessons I never expected was, because I found him about focusing on manifestation. How do you manifest your reality? But my favorite lessons from Neville Goddard came from him talking about how we can help others with our envisioning. It may actually be cursing others when we see them as negative or see them as low or see them as suffering and reinforce that suffering. So he basically said, can you basically hold the highest light for people and really generate that love of people and help them align to it if they desire. And so I tried it out for myself and found that it actually does work. It's really strange. Love does have the power to transform. We just don't know how to use it or sometimes have the courage to use it. I'm going to share with you something called the Starbucks story. And this sort of led me to do other things within my work that was fascinating. I call it the Starbucks story because I was in Toronto for work. And I was I was coming into Starbucks to buy a coffee before my big meeting. And I was in the lineup and I noticed somebody came in through the doors. And the feeling I got was just, oh, this is not good. This is not quite right. I don't know what's going on with that person, but it doesn't feel right. I need to get out of here. And I know enough to trust my own feelings. But the door was really blocked because there were so many people coming in. I'm like, I can't get out. There's not enough time. And so I said to myself, I'm going to do the only thing that I can do in this moment, which is hold love. I'm going to embody the love. I'm going to see myself as love. And I'm going to send this person love. And I'm going to see them as, instead of being afraid of them, I'm going to just love them. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting anything. I was just doing it to manage my own fear because I was like, something doesn't feel quite right. I should just run away, which would have been my usual MO. The person looked right at me and said, in an agitated state, I can't be here, and left. And some people around me were looking around, what happened to that person? And I was just not saying anything. And other people didn't even notice. And I was like, wow, that is so interesting. And since then, I have met people that have used the power of love to transform, like in really transform enemies into friends, if you may, in more challenging circumstances, of course. But to me, that was like, wow, that's evidence to show me that love does have the power to transform if we're courageous enough to use it.
The typical response would be, most people probably didn't even notice, as you said. That would be the typical response I would expect. But I think that love is the highest vibration on the planet. I know that love is the highest vibration on the planet, and we need more of it. I know it sounds hippy-dippy and all the rest, but John Lennon and Paul McCartney were on to something. Love is all we need. It really is. It is so powerful. And to be able to lean into that, you can transform lives. You can help people. You can change things. You can change situations. It is the most powerful vibration on the face of the earth, period. And we need to all lean into it more and utilize it more, for sure.
Yeah. But here's 100%. The challenge. And here's the challenge. And this is where the courage comes in. Are we willing to love those that are most hurtful? Are we willing to love those? Because as Einstein says, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different outcome. We meet violence with violence. We meet hate with hate. We meet all of those. We continue to do that, and it doesn't work. One thing we haven't tried is being willing to love those. And it's a hard choice. I can tell you that. I see it every day in all the things that are happening. And I'm like, it hurts my heart that we can't just see how we're all interconnected, and by hurting a group of people, we're hurting ourselves, and we're repeating history again and again and again. And I just to see us not get it. And at the same time, it's each of us, our journeys, right? And so having love for those that are more hurtful, or even if you can't love people, that's fine. That's okay. It's hard to love those that are hurtful to us. It's really difficult. Our default setting is like, I just want to punish them or get them away from me so that they stop hurting me. That's fair.
Yeah.
Are we willing to allow ourselves to get curious? Have you heard of this man called Daryl Davis? I love this man. Oh, I've been trying to get this man on my podcast since forever. He keeps ghosting me, but eventually I will accost him somewhere. Okay, so his name is Daryl Davis, Black jazz musician, who, when he was very little, decided to understand, why are people racist? Like, it didn't make any sense in his head. Like, why are people racist? So as he gets older, he became a very popular Black jazz musician. And he actually went to KKK leaders and members and said, why do you hate me when you don't even know me? His intention wasn't to love or to have compassion. He was just genuinely curious. And through those conversations, he got 200 of them, over 200 of them, to leave the Klan. Leave it.
Wow.
Including some high-ranking people. he wasn't intent on changing them. His only desire was to understand them. But in that understanding, he created the conditions that enabled them to change. So, are we willing? And this is the question I ask myself, but honestly, it's not like I am Mother Teresa sitting here on this mountain. I'm on the journey with you guys. Some days I have it, some days I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the question that I have to always ask myself is, am I willing to just be curious? And when I don't have it, am I willing to allow others to get curious so that we can actually get there? Am I willing to allow somebody else to see the humanity of my oppressor so that they can then see our humanity? Instead of doing what we continue to do, which is, they hurt me, I'm going to hurt them.
Uh-huh.
It's gotten us exactly where we are right now.
Yep,
I'm going to hate them, so they hate me, I'm going to hate them. It doesn't work. It's time to do something else.
It is, for sure. Agreed 100%. And that curiosity is the key, for sure. I think that also goes for conversation. I think, as you just stated with this gentleman, we have to go into a conversation or into conversations with others with that curious mindset, not to go into it to change someone's mind or change their way of thinking, because you can't. You're not going to do that. But if we go into a conversation with open ears, an open mind, and an open heart and curiosity, and just listen to hear what they're saying, to be curious about how they arrive. Like, how did you arrive at the way you think, what you believe, and what made you get to this point? That's how we need to approach conversation. And we don't. We're so busy in conversation. A lot of people, I shouldn't say all, a lot of people are so busy listening just to respond.
Yeah.
They're not giving them the space to share their thoughts, share their feelings, share their viewpoints, whatever it is. That's a big part of it. And then the curiosity can come in as well. Ask them, why do you believe that? What was your upbringing, or what led you to this decision, or whatever it is, right? It's about having that curiosity, and it will make for a much better conversation too, for sure.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because it's so true. Most people, and I noticed this in myself, when I was having conversations with people, I wasn't having a conversation. I was having a debate. I was like waiting for them to give me this space so I can give him my killer point.
Yeah.
But I heard it from Valerie Carr, and so she sort of leads this move on revolutionary love, and she said, in order for you to truly listen to someone, you have to be willing to change your heart. And to me, that was like, wow, that's really powerful. Mm-hmm. But I also had to learn on this journey that I couldn't sit and have those conversations with people unless I managed my own difficult feelings. My feelings of vulnerability, my feelings of shame and guilt and defensiveness, all of those things I needed to manage, which is why compassion is in love, self-love and self-compassion are so important, because they help us give to ourselves what we need in those moments to stay in the conversation longer. If we're so dysregulated, we can't stay in the conversation. All those difficult feelings will cause us to eject or get defensive. But if we can deal with them with compassion and soften some of those feelings, we can then be willing to listen, like you said, with an open heart.
It all starts with us. We are the foundation for everything. And it takes doing that work. Gissele, how do you distinguish between self-compassion and self-indulgence? And why is that distinction important?
This is a great question, because I think people think that being self-compassionate is self-indulgent. When you think about self-indulgence, you think about when you overdo it, right? You overindulged in desserts, or overindulged in like my vacationing or whatever. Maybe I spent too much money. But from my perspective, you can never have too much self-compassion. It's true. I think people think that if you are compassionate or loving to yourself, that you are going to just allow all your crappy behavior and justify it. That's not true. It is really hard to be compassionate and loving to yourself when you feel you don't deserve it. It is one of the hardest things to do when you don't think you're worthy of it. And so it's just so challenging. And for you to think that you're going to overdo it, it's not likely. People also confuse self-love with narcissism. They're like, oh, those people love themselves. That's a misunderstanding of what love really is. People that express narcissistic behavior require other people to do things or to give them things, including attention, so that they can feel good.
Right.
Self-love comes from within. It is an overflowing love that happens. And in fact, you stop needing things from other people. You don't need them to be any specific way because you've tapped into your own inner fountain of love. You actually become even more accepting of people that are hurtful or that don't do what you want them to do. You're not trying to control other people. You don't care what other people do because you've tapped your unlimited resource from within. And yeah, so that's where the distinction is. You can't have too much self-compassion from my perspective.
Self-love is an inside job. Again, it just comes right back to it. Starts with that's why so many people have such a hard time loving themselves, because it's not easy. It takes the work. Yeah. Everything takes work. And that's where people falter, is because I think we've become this society that everyone wants this magic bullet, this quick fix, and this one-time thing. And that's not the way life works. You have to do the work. Period.
What you said is so important. And I think people, I want your listeners not to underestimate what you just said, because we do look for that panacea, immediate thing. I don't want to go through it. In the beginning, to love and to show up for yourself can feel really hard. But something happens on that nth day where it stops feeling hard and it starts feeling very comforting. For me, practicing self-compassion and love and meditation and mindfulness is my safe space. It's my home base now. It is something that doesn't feel uncomfortable. It doesn't feel like work. I love doing it. In the beginning, not so much. It felt really yucky. It felt terrible. It felt really uncomfortable. But you have to be willing to go through it, because it's a pay now or pay later. Right? So it's either you're paying later with suffering and anxiety and depression and unhealthy relationships, or you pay now and you face yourself and you make the commitment that you are going to be worthy to do the practice, and you show up for yourself. And on that nth day, something just blooms and it's absolutely beautiful. And to have that for yourself, I think everyone deserves it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, our relationship, when it comes to relationships in our lives, the one with ourself is the longest standing and most important one we will ever have. A relationship with nobody else in this world is more important than that one you have with yourself. And you have to invest in it. Are you willing to invest in you is the question, right?
Yeah. And I find that I realized that the more I loved myself, the more I could love others. It made me think of that. Have you ever seen that Wayne Dwyer where he uses the example of the orange with his audience? And he goes to the audience, he goes, "What is this?" And everybody goes, "An orange." And he goes, "What do you get when you press an orange?" And everybody goes, "Orange juice." And he goes, "Why?" And then they all go, "Because that's what's on the inside." When your inside is full of love and compassion, when the pressure happens, what comes out is love and compassion. But most people, what comes out is criticism, hate, violence, all of that stuff, because that's what's on the inside. So we have to work on our inside so that when the pressure happens, it's love that comes out.
That's powerful.
I love that
I've
example.
never heard that one. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest myth around self-compassion that you wish more people understood?
Oh, I love this question. That people think they need to deserve it, that they need to earn it, that people do or do not deserve compassion, including their own self-compassion. We don't have to earn our own compassion and love, and other people don't have to earn it either. We're all worthy of it, just inherently.
Beautiful. What are some simple, practical ways that people can start practicing self-compassion daily that you can share with the audience that they can immediately start to implement?
I'm going to say something probably unexpected, but just be willing. That's actually the starting point. And the reason why I say that is because if you're a person who doesn't feel like you're worthy of compassion, or even if you are somebody who doesn't think they're worthy of all the things they want out of life, let's say you're experiencing lack, if you were to tell yourself I'm abundant, you're going to experience a lot of resistance, right? And so if you go to, oh, I'm just going to be super compassionate to myself, there's going to be an equally raised perspective that's going to be like, that's bullcrap, you're not worth it, you suck. And so that turns people off. That automatically, they don't want to feel those feelings, so they shut it down. But being willing to be compassionate to yourself, being willing to love yourself, cracks it open a little bit, and it doesn't introduce a lot of resistance, because all you're saying is, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to know how from my inner self. Okay, higher self, show me. I'm willing. Doesn't say I'm going to do it. Doesn't say I am there. I'm just willing. And that choice that you're making in those moments to be willing to be guided towards your own self-compassion and self-love enables you to go through and navigate those ups and downs. Whereas going straight to, I'm worthy, I love myself, it's like what happens is that there's an immediate pushback on the other end if you don't feel truly that way.
Yeah, because you're going to the extreme. You're putting it on blast. And it's, wait a minute, you're going from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. You can't do that.
Yeah. And so being willing is always the starting point, to just say, I'm willing to just to make that choice. I don't know how I'm going to get there, and that's okay, but I'm just willing. And then allow the universe to show you how to get there.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Is there a balance between holding yourself accountable and being kind to yourself? And if so, how do you navigate that?
This is a great question. In my journey, one of the things I discovered that I did not expect was that, and I'm going to use the word self-compassion instead of kind, but kindness is part of self-compassion, that being self-compassionate actually enabled me to be even more accountable. Something I didn't expect, because I was able to see all of my flaws and see where I hurt people and see all of those things I didn't like about myself with love and kindness and all of that stuff and curiosity. And that enabled me to go deeper and to really see myself as I truly have been in terms of my behavior, without shame or without guilt, or at least managing those emotions. And it enabled me then to be willing to change, or to be willing to listen to other people's perspective when I had hurt them. It was the shame and the guilt and the defensiveness that prevented me at times from being accountable, because I didn't want to hear other people's accounts of my behavior. Because I think what would happen in those moments when I hurt people the most was that I thought, oh, this makes me a bad person. This makes me unworthy. This makes me unlovable. And so my own inner self-compassion reminds me I'm never unlovable and never unworthy. And I may have hurt people with my behavior. And so that enables me to actually sit in that longer and be more accountable.
That's an interesting spin on it and way to look at it.
It's just been my experience. Other people's experiences might not have been that way, but my experience was I was able to sit with my own shame and guilt because I was compassionate with myself. And I actually saw it when I used to be a manager and then director in the child welfare system. And one of the departments I had was HR. And what I noticed with people that were, for example, accused of bullying and harassment, when you brought the two groups together, the people that were perceived victims and the people that were perceived perpetrators, is what would happen with the people that were perceived perpetrators is that they experienced shame and guilt, and then there was a defensiveness or a shutdown. Like they weren't able to listen to the conversation. And in fact, most often what I observe is people that were bullying others saw themselves as victims. And so when you punish them and said, oh, we're going to fire you, or we're going to do this to you, that only reinforced their image as a victim. Yet again, I'm being victimized, therefore. And so they weren't realizing that their bullying behavior was an attempt for them to not perceive themselves as victims. And so that allowed me to reflect. What took it to the next level for me was actually experiencing me hurting someone else and feeling that shame and guilt and thinking, oh my God, I'm not as kind and loving as I portray myself to be. I'm not living my values. And compassion and love for myself helped me navigate those waters, helped me see where I had wronged people, helped me see where my behavior wasn't aligning with my values. And it enabled me to change. And so I see it as it helps us be even more accountable.
As they say, hurt people, but we do. I mean, the kid that was picked on sometimes, not all the time, ends up becoming a bully. and bullying others, right? It's cyclical. How can someone respond with kindness to their inner critic instead of harsh self-judgment?
Yeah, this is a great question again. So you can start by asking questions. Start from a place of curiosity. Curiosity is underused. I'm telling you, it's underused.
I see a common thread here, Gissele.
Whose voice is it that I'm listening to? Is this how I would treat a person I love the most? Now, the person I love the most might not be a human being. It might be a dog or a cat or whatever. Ask yourself, would I talk to this being this way? And if the answer is no, then ask yourself the next question. So why am I talking to myself this way? Why am I referring to myself this way? And so curiosity enables you to come to understand yourself more from a place of non-judgment. And it also helps you not have that resistance, especially if you kind of have that programming that comes from, if criticism is your big motivator. The thing about criticism is we've been taught this mistaken belief that it's motivating. Criticism gives you the law of diminishing returns, which is in the beginning, it may help you, but too much criticism and there's a huge drop in motivation. There's a huge drop. This is why people burn out, right? Like in the beginning, you might think it might give you some motivation. That's not true for self-love and self-compassion. In fact, the more that you love yourself and are compassionate to yourself, the more you want to tap into your passions, the more you're motivated by the things that bring you joy and the things you really want to do. And then it doesn't feel like work at all. You're doing the thing you love. So you can spend 12 hours, 40 hours. To you, it doesn't make a difference because you are doing something out of joy instead of obligation and criticism.
And there is no feeling in the world like that. When you are in that zone of doing what you absolutely love, there is nothing else that even compares to that feeling. It is unmatchable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It is. Can you talk about the connection between self-kindness and resilience? How does one feed the other?
This is great. So in terms of the connection between the two, one of the things I have found in my journey is how, like, when I was really in the midst of my trauma, like I was a very good trauma student. I experienced a lot of trauma. I was taught by two traumatized people. And so there's a lack of rigidity or flexibility. And I was listening to a podcast episode where they were talking about how of a healthy mind is adaptability, flexibility. And that made so much sense to me, right? Because when you think about, you want to be able to navigate the winds of life, right? By being flexible. And that's where self-compassion can really help you do that. It helps you manage those difficult emotions that actually cause you to be rigid. Because what happens is when we have a trauma response, we create sort of a rigid repertoire of things that we do. And then we take those behaviors and we plant them onto different circumstances. And in the majority of circumstances, those are maladaptive, right? And so what helped us survive abuse is not going to be adaptive in every setting, but we don't learn to be flexible. Self-compassion enables us to sit with those difficult feelings, enables us to face our fear and have courage and be more adaptable and flexible so that then we create that real resiliency, that it enables us to be able to navigate through life. And when we have those difficult moments when we feel like being rigid, just going inward and being able to give ourselves what we need in the moment, like the practice I mentioned earlier, to then allow ourselves to bend a little bit more with life.
I love it. What is one question that you would encourage people to ask themselves when they're being too hard on themselves?
I say I would go back to whose voice is this? And would I actually treat my most beloved being this way? If your answer is yes, then it's yes, okay. But if your answer is no, then ask yourself the next question of, how come I'm treating myself this way? So curiosity is always the starting point.
That common thread of curiosity. I love it.
Yeah.
If someone listening feels like they aren't worthy of kindness, where should they start?
Be willing. Be absolutely willing. Again, if you go to, I'm worthy, I'm going to do this affirmation until it fits, the fake it till you make it, there's so much resistance. And sometimes unworthiness doesn't show up in the way we think it does. I was never the type of person who would call myself a loser or say, oh, I'm such a loser, I'm so stupid, I'm not worthy. My negative self-talk was never like that, ever. I was meditating once and I was wondering at the time how come I wasn't living my dreams. And I remember I heard a voice that came from inside that said, I'm not worth it to receive all my dreams. And that kind of stopped me cold because I didn't think I was that person. And so hearing that and trying to understand, okay, so where does this come from? And how do I navigate through is, I would say, the next step. So I was willing to understand that may have been true for me. And I'm willing to open up the space to hear how I can get to the next stage. And the reason sometimes why I hesitate to share practices, I don't believe that everything fits for everyone. I think within us, each of us has a map of our own way out. Each of us is an expert of ourselves. And so we can share practices with one another. We can talk about, I learned from you, you learned from me.
Yep.
But the best thing you can learn from anyone is how to go inward and listening to your own inner wise woman or wise person or inner genius, because we all have that within ourselves. And allowing ourselves to reveal that path. My path to self-compassion is not the same path as yours, Brad, or anyone else's.
Right.
That's why we have to follow that inner guidance. And it's so interesting. If you had asked me in my life if I thought I would be doing any of the stuff I'm doing now, I would have never in my wildest dreams have told you that this is what I'd be doing. I thought I was still going to be in child welfare and I was going to probably retire from that career. But higher self, source, God had a different plan. And when I follow that plan, things are beautiful and they fall into place. And I feel that joy of creating from the passion and I'm living my dream. When they don't listen to it, life's a lot harder. And so again, it's about allowing yourself to be guided towards that path of undoing all of the things that prevent you from being your true self, which I believe are love and compassion. I think that's our essence. I think love is absolutely our essence, what we came in here for, and allowing yourself your own inner guidance of getting you there to say, okay, I'm going to remove all of these blocks so then I can be authentically me, which is love.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm the same. I'd never in a million years dreamed I'd be doing this. Not a chance. If someone had told me that 5 years ago, I would have said, you're fucking crazy. No,
Yeah.
What? What are you talking about? There's no way.
1% of top podcasts.
And here I am doing what I absolutely love. There has never been such a fire or a passion in my belly to do something ever. I mean, my photography, I shouldn't say never, because my photography, that's my first love, my first passion. And honestly, I never thought that I'd be doing anything else. I thought Brad and photography are synonymous. That's it. We are one. And there's nothing else out there for me. And here I am doing something I shouldn't say completely different, because it is storytelling. It's just in a different way. Yeah. It's not visually. Although, I guess if you really think about it, it kind of is. But it's a different path regardless.
Yeah, I think what we're saying is that if you had asked Gissele 15 years ago if she thought she'd be here, what she thought she would be doing, like writing down what she thought, none of the stuff that I'm doing I would have ever put down on paper. And this is better than I envisioned. So I was like, wow. So yeah, all I have to do is allow, right? Which feels really challenging, especially when you have no idea why you're doing something or what's the next step or what's the path, and you're only just shown the one step and you're like, oh man, can I just see the next three so I can just figure it out? Nope. Okay, I'm just going to take a step and leap of faith and move it this way. And then when I've been able to look back and I'm like, oh, it all fits together. But in the moment, and I really wasn't taught to trust, because my parents both had negative experiences in childhood, they didn't really trust the people in their lives. And so I wasn't really taught to trust the people that were supposed to take care of you, let alone some sort of like benign universe, God source. And so learning to trust and let go has been a real journey for me.
For sure. What is one small act of self-kindness, if practiced consistently, can create profound change?
Small act of self-kindness. I'm gonna say, going back to the breath, it seems really fundamental. The reason being is because when people are super stressed, when you're feeling the most anxiety, your mind is really racing and your body is tense. And so it's hard for you to even practice compassion by trying to get a hold of your mind and try to not even just control it, but try to soothe it without soothing the body. You have to manage the body first. It's the easiest thing to do. That's why they tell people to exercise or walk or do a meditative practice. You're trying to get the body to relax and feel safe so that you can then start to do the practice. And so what really pays off over time is the strategy of, okay, I may not be able to work out, but if I can just go back to the breath and use that as my anchor, right? Going back to, because people, when you're really super stressed, you hold your breath. You don't realize people go, and then they're breathing really shallow. And so going back to the breath as your anchor can help you then start to get curious with yourself and start to ask yourself what you need in the moment, and give it to yourself. All of those practices can start once you get a hold of your body, because trying to do both is too much. People just max out and they don't really understand what's happening, why they can't control it. They actually become even less self-compassion with themselves. They become even more angry and more critical. They're like, why can't I just be loving with myself or more? It's because it's too hard. You're trying to climb a super big mountain. Relax the body first, if that's the easiest thing to manage. Then try to soothe the mind. Right? And then you can start to see some real big changes over time.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. As mentioned off the top of the interview, you are the co-owner of the Maitri Centre. Can you talk about that? When it was founded, what inspired you to start it? What's the mission? How you came up with the name? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. So it was founded in 2020. I was still at working within the child welfare system. But as I started to really understand the power of loving compassion, like I really started to understand how it's the key to change the world. I thought, I want to help others get there as well. And again, what I do for others, I do for myself, and what I do for myself, I do for others, because we're so interconnected. And so I decided to create this center just for myself, just to do my podcast, to help people, help organizations to practice more compassion in the workplace. I wrote some books. I've done a TedX talk, as you mentioned. And the most exciting thing that I'm doing right now is, and again, not anything that I expected, is I'm working on a documentary. If you remember the examples I was talking to you about, because one of the things I've done is a podcast, my own podcast, and I have met some extraordinary people that manage to forgive and love those who are most hurtful. And that transformed them and the people that actually hurt them. And those stories need to be told. And right now I'm working on a documentary to tell those stories because, like I said, it's sort of like a Jedi move, except from the Star Wars perspective, I don't think the Jedis, to me, they were also doing the same thing as the other people. They were still fighting. They were still killing. Whereas the real Jedi move is being able to have enough love and compassion for the other person so that then they can also see your humanity. It's a very transformative power. And the reason why I started with the question of asking, was Martin Luther King right that love had the power to transform an enemy into a friend? Was he? Because I wanted to know for myself. I'm like, is this really true? All these spiritual people say, oh, you sit in a mountain, you're like, oh, love has the power to transform. That's great that Jesus said it, but where's the proof in the pudding? And that's the researcher in me. That's the researcher in me in terms of wanting to know. And so I've created this network of people that have these stories to share. And so that's what I'm doing, this documentary. Again, not anything that I thought I would be doing. And it just like the right people just sort of fell in the right place and sort of everything came together. And we have this amazing team. And I'm like, okay, this is not me doing it. This is divinely ordained. So I'm just sort of the hands and feet. Just tell me what to do. And I'm going to do it. So that's kind of what we're working on and we're most excited about right now.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Now, since you mentioned, I'd love to discuss and jump in, talk about that whole TEDx experience. And of course, getting a TEDx talk is a big deal for a lot of people, a big dream. Was that something that was a bucket list item for you?
Actually, no. And the reason why I say that is because I was guided to write my first book, which is the book that I did Reimagining Work, because I had I was transitioning out of my job and I was trying to figure out how do I want to work. And I see it in my kids and in this new generation. They don't want to grind it out. We want to do something different. And I really wanted to share what I had learned on how to bring more love and compassion into workplaces. And so I was guided to write this book. And then after I wrote it, I'm like, okay, what's next? And then the inkling was, okay, I need to do this TEDx talk. And I got rejected several times, by the way. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I'm not meant to do it. But from my perspective, as soon as I feel strongly and passionately about something, that says to me that is something that I'm supposed to accomplish, right? Like that drive and passion comes from a higher self. Something is trying to birth itself through me. This is why I have this strong desire. Now, I had to learn to differentiate between the desires I thought I should have, like in terms of like, everyone is doing this, or this will give me clout, or this will give me, it's like from my ego, versus what is my higher self's true desire. And so my ego self's true desire was to do a TEDx talk on compassion and child welfare, and I kept trying to push this thing. And I heard very clearly that I was supposed to talk about something else. And then this something else was the question I had asked that we were just talking about, was Martin Luther King correct? Does love really truly have the power to transform? And so that's what I actually ended up doing my topic on and got accepted. I feel like the book and this and everything else that I'm being guided to was supposed to lead me to this documentary. So if you know what I mean, like it was supposed to be a path of, so on my own, I didn't think about it as something that was a bucket list thing for me. I think there's been so many other things that I thought I wanted to do that I didn't do, that I didn't accomplish, that I thought I should want to do these things because people want to do them. Now I've been able to look back and go, oh, okay, you made me write this book so that I could get on this TEDx talk. Okay, you want me to do this TEDx talk so that I can get here. And then you want me to do this thing so that I can get here. And so when I'm able to look back and go, oh, okay, everything's led me here. And this was the path, not the path that I would have thought. Because every time I also did one of these things, I thought, okay, this is it. This is going to be like, this is going to open up the things. And it only just led me to where I didn't think I was going to go. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just following this. But so right now I'm being guided to do this documentary, and I'm just finishing my second book on reimagining education, because I'm sort of navigating my kids wanting to go and do post-secondary and trying to figure out how can we change the education system to create really flourishing human beings? Like, how does the education system, what role does it play in really helping us create the beings, the humanity that we want to create? Loving, compassionate, creative, passionate, all of those things. And so that's what I'm being guided to do at this time. And so to go back to your answer, it was not a bucket list. It was cool to do. I will say that it's funny because all of these experiences, I think, are meant to expand us more and more. I was supposed to do the talk on the Friday. By Wednesday, I didn't have it memorized, and I honestly thought I wanted to bail. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna flop. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I don't have it memorized yet. It's Wednesday. There's 2 days from now. And then they moved me to the first slot. I was first too. And I was like, oh my God, yeah. And so I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gotta get out of here. And then I was like, you know what? Time to practice some self-compassion. This is just my ego trying to protect me, want to keep me small so that I'm safe. It's okay. Even if I flub, this is before I knew that they had teleprompters. I didn't know that. Even if I flub, even if I make a mistake, I'm going to pick myself up and keep going. And so by Friday, I actually fully memorized. Like, I hadn't realized that when I went to the triad, I was like, oh, I actually do know it. And so, yeah, but it's funny in those intimate moments of how you're like, and this is how I know I'm about to hit something good, is when I start to really go, oh no, I think I'm going to bail. I don't think this is going to, and I'm like, no, this is just my fear trying to keep me small. This is good. Keep going.
The stepping stones, the stepping stones to get us to the next level.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, you've mentioned you're an author. Can you speak a little bit more about the books? While you mentioned you're in the process of writing the second one, can you tell us about the first one, subject matter, and what was that experience like for you sharing with the world in a book?
Yeah, I didn't realize that the book I thought I was going to write, it was very different. than the book I wrote. It was a real journey of really examining myself and examining some limiting beliefs that I had around money, around success, around even trusting the universe and some of my experiences. It was also a great opportunity to really reflect on what it means to be loving and compassionate within organizations and systems, and some of the things I saw, which was really, really great for me to experience and share. I talk about how do we listen with compassion? How can we speak with compassion? How do we deal with the interpersonal issues? Because as I said, I worked within the HR system. I was a leader, and I saw a lot of things that happened within HR that made things more difficult because the people didn't manage their own emotions. And so I have lots of questions at the end for people to reflect, because the journey of the book itself is you reflecting on the questions yourself and then mapping out for yourself what the areas of growth. And it was definitely an interesting, beautiful journey. I love writing. I had forgotten that I wanted to write a book. It just sort of came one day that I was like, oh yeah, I said I was going to write a book. I'm not really busy. I'm not doing anything. I'm like, okay. Because there's a reason why things don't work when they are not supposed to work.
Yep.
And so wrote that book. It became number one in conflict resolution for a day or two. And I was like, yay. And then it was like, oh. And so I thought, oh, this is going to be it. And I'm like, nope. Can't move to the next thing. And then this other book kind of has arisen out of my own challenge of managing the whole, really reflecting on my own education experience. I'm very highly educated. I have a master's in social work. I have a master's in health research methods like qualitative research, and I have multiple other smaller degrees and certificates. And so evaluating that in the context of where we are and where young people are in the cost of education, the cost of living, and all of those pieces, and where love and compassion really fits in what I see in my students, because I'm also a professor, one of the things I forgot to mention. And what I see in my students is some of my students is like a lot more mental health than there's ever been, really challenging with being able to regulate themselves and their emotions, and a real lack of being able to hold those difficult feelings, to have those difficult conversations. And when you're in social work, there's nothing but difficult conversations.
Yeah.
'Cause your clients might be child welfare, your clients might be people who are taking drugs and so on and so forth. I said to myself, you know what? I'm being guided to write this other book, and the journey again has been really interesting. I love writing. I love ideas come to me like when I'm in between, when I'm about to wake up, 3-4 o'clock in the morning sometimes, which is okay. Some of these are not my ideas. I'm just going to write down. And so I'm open to whenever ideas flow, I just write them down. And the first draft is always garbage. I'm just going to put it out there. The first draft is always terrible, but you have good editors. So you pay for editors and people that give you feedback and find the holes in your writing and ask good questions. And so writing is always a team thing. It's never just
Right.
like the people that get the glory is always the people whose name's on the cover.
Yeah.
But writing is collaborative, and people ask you good questions, and then people help you cut and put things and add things and subtract things. And I think not enough people are acknowledged in the writing process to help you really create the best thing that you can create.
I love it. Now, you're also the host of a podcast. Can you share a little bit about the podcast?
Yeah, thank you. So I'll get to how I even started a podcast. I didn't even know what podcasts were, I'm going to be honest. I had no idea. So this is when I was still working within the child welfare system, and I was determined to bring compassion to child welfare. And so I was practicing self-compassion and self-love. I was connected to this woman out of the U.S. who's doing compassion in the prison system. She's done some amazing work. And so I'm like, can you meet with me? Can you chat with me? Because I'm trying to bring it to the child welfare system. And so she spent 2 hours chatting with me about all the different aspects. And she's one of the most phenomenal people. Her name is Lara Naughton. And before we're about to end, literally threw me, because it was not me who asked the question. I don't know how this happened. It was like, do you have a book? And I caught myself off guard. It's like, how would I even know that? And she said, yes, I do. And then she gave me the name of the title. And then after that, I hung up. I said, thank you very much. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to buy this book. She spent 2 hours with me as a thank you. This is a way that I can honor her time and as a thank you. I bought this book. It's called The Jaguar Man. And it is really the story. It was supposed to be a story about the ultimate love, right? And that was her intent when she went to Belize. And so she puts it out there in the universe. I want to experience the ultimate version of love. And so what ends up happening is that she gets kidnapped and assaulted and taken deep into the jungle where she's about to be murdered by this person. And the only thing that she can do is lean in. And so she starts to feel love and compassion for this person. And what happens is that person begins to see her as a person. So much so that they drive her back to her hotel because they don't want her to be unsafe, which doesn't make any rational sense considering they're the ones that took her there. But it was that transformation of, I'm seeing your love and I'm willing to love you and to understand you so that you see my humanity. And that's exactly what happened. But after the fact, she didn't know how to manage that. And so this book was her attempt to make sense of that process. And then that's how she ended up doing work in the jails. And she was helping the prisoners have more compassion for themselves. And I was like, somebody's got to tell this freaking story. This is like mind blowing. And that's what started the Love and Compassion podcast, which is out because I wanted to be able to tell stories like this. Now, they're hard to come by. Some people don't want to share their story because they do get ostracized. People do get ostracized for doing that. Like they get pushed by family. And so that's really what started the podcast. We're in 44 countries now, which is amazing. Yeah. Incredible. I'm thrilled. And we are, I still look for those extraordinary stories of compassion and extraordinary stories of love. And that's how I created that network. And so my next step was really to put it in a documentary format to physically be able to see those people that I met in the podcast. But it was that story that led me to, I was guided, okay, so you got to tell this story. And I'm like, do a podcast. And I'm like, what's a podcast? I'm like, what is it? And then again, everything sort of fell into place. I got the mic. My husband bought me a microphone. He helped me with all of these things. He sort of was able to kind of help me navigate all of this. And I'm like, wow, I would never have been able to plan that as the human Gissele with her little ego. I think I should be doing this and I should be the hero of child welfare and whatever. So that's how the podcast started and that's how it's going.
Incredible. I love it. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. And congratulations to you.
Thank you. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I think I have two. My first one is willing to listen. I'm willing to listen to my own inner guidance. I question it quite a bit sometimes when it doesn't make sense. I'm like, oh, what is this? But I do it anyways. And so my ability to listen is my superpower, my ability to trust the source. And sometimes it's hard when you don't see it or you don't understand the thing. And so that's my second superpower is perseverance, is my willing to kind of keep going. Sometimes it's hard and I lean on my people if I can't find it from within, but then I keep moving.
Yeah. Now, speaking of success, what does that word mean to you? How do you define the word success?
That's great. Success to me is really freedom, the freedom to do what I love with the people I love. It's so true what they said. I know it sounds like drivel when you hear it. You're like, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And when you hear it and you're not doing it, you're like, oh my God, that's such BS. Who is telling me that? That's just ridiculous. But it is so true. I could write for hours and hours when I'm inspired. I'm so inspired by this documentary. I'm inspired by the podcast stuff that I do. I'm inspired by everything that I've been able to accomplish thus far, including that TedX talk. I just love what I'm doing. I have a curiosity for it. And so it's true. You don't work. I love teaching, being a professor, even though what I teach now is research, my old stuff. I weave compassion in my work. We talk about critical thinking and we talk about hot topics of the day. I love the students. They're so beautiful and amazing and unique. And so everything that I'm doing, I'm truly loving. And so it's possible for all of us. I'm not unique. I'm not special. Yeah. I'm not. We're each of us a part of Source. And so that to me is success. I think if you had asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have thought like money, accolades,
the corner office, all that
like
bullshit.
All of that stuff, because I thought that's what success was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But even having my family together, having good times together, enjoy is success. Oh, it just it just fills my heart.
I love it. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
This is such a great question. It is such a great question because you give me an opportunity to talk about something that I love to talk about, which is like, our misconception about what power truly is, right? Like we have been, like from my perspective, we have such a backward definition of power. We think power is power over. We think power is putting like force and forcing people to do. And if you look at our examples of power, people that are succeeding at the cost of other people, at the cost of the environment, that's not true power. People that are truly powerful do not need to disempower other people. They just don't. If you're really truly in your power or empowered, you don't need to take anything from anyone else. You have the ability, and remember that you have the capacity to live your dreams and be able to do that, not at the expense of others. But people that feel powerless usually want to take power from others. Now, the whole concept of empowerment, you don't give power to other people. Everybody has their own power. Everybody is empowered, like they have their power. It's just whether they remember or whether they give away their power to others. We give away our power to other people. Yeah. There may be 1% of the population that has money, but we have given them the money through our purchasing power, through our ability to make choice, through sometimes our laziness and all of those things. We have empowered these people, like we have given our power away to them. And what we don't realize is we have the capacity to take it back. We have the capacity to take it back and to not allow fear-based thinking to navigate. Because when we are afraid, we're more likely to give our power away. When we're in survival, we're more likely to give our power away. And it's our job to get ourselves out of those difficult feelings through compassion and through love so that we can then make conscious choices from an empowered place, not from a fear-based place, which is what's happening now. And so I do not give any power to the media or particular type of media or particular type of messaging or particular type of, I'm not giving any of my energy and attention. And if you understand the power of TikTok, you understand the power of energy and attention. And to me, that really is the definition of power.
Love it. Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next group of questions just be 1, 2, 3, 4-word answer type thing.
Okay, sure.
If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Wanting to love more and more every day.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
The transformative power of love.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
My willingness to embody more love every day.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Persistent.
If you had a theme song that played every time you walked into a room, what song would it be?
Oh my God. Moving On Up by the Jeffersons. I always think of that song for some reason. It's like when there's something good that happens, I'm like, moving on up.
Love that show.
Me too, yeah.
70s TV is just phenomenal.
I know.
That was good TV. Mm-hmm. That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a bonus question that I did not send you at that time. If other people could use 3 words to describe you, what would you want those 3 words to be?
If other people could use 3 words to describe me: loving, generous, and I would say determined. Committed. Yeah, committed.
All right.
I would say.
What is one of your biggest failures, or let's call it a life lesson or teachable moments, and what did you learn from it? Yeah,
I don't consider failures in my life. And I know this sounds like a fortune cookie, but in my life, when the things that I thought were considered failures, when I'm able to look back, they were really redirections. It was either not the right thing or not the right time. And so now when I encounter a block, I'm either, okay, it's either not the right thing or not the right time. The one thing I will say that probably taught me the best life lesson, and this is one of the things I share in my TEDx talk, is when I actually thought I was embodying the energy of love and compassion, but my outside showed me something different. And I managed to hurt someone, and that cost me an extraordinary amount of shame and guilt. And how I was able to see, and it wasn't, I didn't do anything on purpose, right? I didn't hurt anyone on purpose, but their perspective of what I did was their perspective, and I honor that. Seeing how love and compassion helped me navigate those difficult experiences, in order for me to be honest enough with myself that I wasn't truly living my values, was worth its weight in gold. And I would, to do it over, I would never wish to hurt someone again. I wish I had learned it differently, but I'm grateful for the lesson.
Yeah, it's hard when you're in a situation where it feels like the absolute worst thing that could be happening. And when you're able to step outside of it and take a look from the outside in and see, wait a minute, this isn't as bad as I think it is. There's a lesson, because there's a lesson, or there's a silver lining, or there's a nugget or something for me to pull out of this situation to learn in order to be able to move forward and carry on with that extra bit of wisdom or tool to move forward and do better next time.
Yeah, the silver lining is so important, and it really helps you kind of stay on, right? It helps you really understand, because you can easily get so mad at yourself and go back to that criticism, go back to that self-hate of, oh my God, I'm a worthless person, I'm a crappy person. But the more kind you are to yourself, going back to your question of accountability, which was a really good one, is I was able to see where I was responsible, like what I had missed. And I was also able to, at the same time, understand that I could be the villain in someone's story, and I could also be the hero in someone else's story, and I'm neither of those things.
Yeah.
I'm not the saint, and I'm also not this horrible person. I'm a person that makes mistakes, and I'm also a person whose aim in life is to love more, to really understand and embody that, really understand what does it really mean to truly love people unconditionally. And so when I understood that, I was able to release the need for that person to forgive me, release the need for that person to see me in anything other than how they saw me, and honor their experience as their experience and their right to have it.
Lesson. It's painful, I'm sure. Yeah, for
Tough
sure.
one.
Absolutely.
I cried a lot, Brad. Yeah. And that's okay. I'm a big crier, so.
That's all right. That's releasing emotion.
Yeah.
What's an unexpected blessing or occurrence in your life that you're grateful for?
An unexpected, that I'm doing what I'm doing now. Again, Gissele of 15 years ago would never have, if she had written out her life plan. This is why letting go is so important. I'm for manifesting and wanting to live your dream, whatever. But there are some dreams that the universe, God's source, might have even bigger dreams for you if you just allow yourself to be guided. And sometimes we really limit ourselves with how small we think we're thinking big. Oh, I'm just going to do my little thing here, which is what my dream was. And then the universe is, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do any of that. And I was like, oh my God, this makes me even happier than what I thought was going to make me. And I didn't even thought that was possible. And so that was an unexpected surprise that I'm so, so grateful for, that at least I had enough sense to go, okay, I guess we're doing this other thing.
What is one lesson that your career has taught you that you think that everyone should learn at some point in their life?
That my career has taught me not to overly plan. So have a general sense of how you want to feel and what you want to experience, but don't get so attached. So don't need it is the weird thing. In my manifestation journey, if you may, I've been able to manifest some great things, but I didn't need them. I didn't need the TedX talk. I didn't need the book being like the things that I've even throughout, even me living the dream of working within the child welfare system, because I didn't take the direct route. I didn't have a BSW. I mean, it was like, that story is magical in itself, like how I got there. And it was really literally the best job until it wasn't. And so I had lived through that dream until the dream expired. And then I was supposed to be moving on to another dream, which is why I didn't fit anymore, I think. But even that, before it happened, I was like, it would be nice, but I don't need it. And it just sort of happened when I was willing to let go. And so that's probably been the best lesson of my career, is that this or something greater. I now say this or something greater. And usually the universe or something even greater. So let go and allow. And if you're having a hard time, learn to let go in the little things. Because the things that I don't have a need for, I don't care about, I just think about, easily manifest. Easily. The things that I'm gripping for in dear life that I think I should have, oh my God, that takes forever because I put so much resistance to it. So letting go has really been a good lesson for me.
Beautiful lesson. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
Well, your questions were really good. So that's a hard question to ask. I would say I would ask myself, what's the biggest, boldest dream I have currently? And my biggest, boldest dream I have currently would be truly understand what Jesus was talking about in terms of truly being the embodiment of love, number one, embodying that love, and really truly understanding how to fully trust Source, God's universe, fully trust of, oh yeah, that's going to happen. Or embodying that sort of full trust in the universe, in God, and that full love. That's my biggest, boldest dream. I don't know how to even get there. I might not get there in this lifetime, but I'm willing.
Okay. It's something to try to achieve and try to attain.
I'm just willing.
There you go. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Woman? Bell Hooks.
Okay. Why?
Who wrote about love.
Okay.
She wrote about love. She really had an understanding of really playing with the whole concept of love and compassion, trying to understand. And she's been a teacher for many. Living, I would say right now, Valerie Carr. I'd like to have a conversation with her about the revolutionary love. But I would say Bell Hooks would be the person, just really trying to understand, because she was a person of minority, and a minority person who's been prejudiced against. And I mean, there's that intersectionality, right? Being a woman and being a woman of color. Yeah. To really tap into that and say, love is the answer. Really, love is what we have to consider. Is like, when I ask her, how'd you get there?
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Everything's going to be okay. That's it. Everything's going to be okay. Everything works out.
All right. Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
That love has the power to transform, and has the power to transform an enemy into a friend, and that it is the solution that we're looking for if we have the courage to do it.
Beautiful. Amazing. Gissele, thank you so much for being here with me today and for sharing your journey, your insights, your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience. This has been an absolutely incredible conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. So thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. I appreciate you, and I'm grateful to have you as a member of the Empowerography community.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for this great conversation. It's such great questions. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you.
I received that, and I appreciate that. Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Gissele Taraba. She is a TEDx speaker, podcaster, author, researcher, entrepreneur, the co-owner of the Maitri Centre, and an advocate and expert in self-compassion and self-kindness. Thank you so much, Gissele. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.